The New York Times is catching a little bit of heat, actually quite a bit of heat, after publishing a profile piece on Gavin McInnes. He is the founder of the Proud Boys, and they have been caught in a number of violent altercations throughout the country. One of the more recent altercations happened in New York following an event at the Metropolitan Republican Club. By the way, the Proud Boys were invited to the Metropolitan Republican Club to speak, and it all ended in violence when they were approached by Antifa protesters following the event. Now, I want to give you a few excerpts from what the New York Times wrote in its piece about McInnes, and then I'll explain why they're getting criticized for it. So first part of it indicates that at the center of the fray on Friday night, this is referring to the altercation after the Metropolitan Republican Club event, was Mr. McInnes, the founder of the Proud Boys and a former Brooklyn hipster turned far-right provocateur. So the concern here is that this piece profiling McInnes is normalizing his behavior and also making it seem as though his behavior isn't out of the ordinary, essentially whitewashing it. When in reality, he has called for violence on various occasions, and we're gonna show you examples of that. Now, they also include this portion. Deborah Coughlin, the president of the Metropolitan Republican Club, said that she welcomed Mr. McInnes because there had been no trouble when he spoke at the club last year. Coughlin explained that the club considered Mr. McInnes's political views to be on the spectrum of conservative civil discourse. She also noted that during the event, his followers were quiet and respectful.
Now, after the event, they kicked the living crap out of people, as they've been taught to do. But hey, during the event when they were all in agreement, everything was fine. And by the way, the part that is not mentioned often enough is what McInnes was talking about that day. He went to go celebrate the murder of a Japanese socialist.
Civil discourse, Cenk.
Civil, very civil.
Yeah.
And he brought a plastic sword with him and dressed up, including with racist Asian eyes that he did for himself, okay, celebrating the person who murdered a socialist.
Civil discourse.
Civil discourse.
So anyway, there's more that I'm going to give you guys in just a minute, but there was also a video that went viral in response to this New York Times profile, and it's essentially a compilation of the type of civil discourse mainstream Republicans have now accepted. So let's show you what that is.
I started this gang called the Proud Boys. And
the Proud Boys?
The Proud Boys.
What's Proud Boys about?
We will kill you. That's the Proud Boys in a nutshell. We will kill you. We look nice. We seem soft. We have boys in our name. But like Bill the Butcher and the Bowery Boys, we will assassinate you. Now, part of the reason I agree to do the talk is because I'm allowed to bring all my guys. And we can fight our way in and fight our way out. I think it's our job to do it. And the cops to turn a blind eye. If you're wearing a MAGA hat, as Sal is right now. Sal's in the studio, folks.
Oh my God, it's Sal Cipolla. Where are you from?
On here.
Wow, you came a long way.
If you're wearing a MAGA hat and some guy with a slightly punk demeanor comes up to you and says, hey, are you Sal or are you pro-Trump? Choke him. Trust your instincts. Don't listen to what he has to say. Choke him. If I do a video where I say, how about we start throwing bricks? Is that legal? You can't call for violence on a specific person, but can you say they're throwing bricks? We should throw bricks. Can you call for violence generally? Because I am. Fighting solves everything. We need more violence from the Trump people. Trump supporters. Choke a mother. Choke a bitch. Choke a tranny. Get your fingers around the windpipe. I want violence. I want punching in the face. I'm disappointed in Trump supporters for not punching enough. Get a gun. Get ready to blow someone's head off. I've even killed people in my dreams. That's how awesome my gun is.
Get in trouble, get arrested, get fired. Let's all get in this together. They can't kill us all.
Yeah, I got green tips, man. Those go through at least 3 bodies.
Oh, beautiful. Plop. I love the way he falls on his ass.
They said, you want to go? I said, yeah, I want to go, and I punched him in the face. And then Coulter emailed me later, and she goes, conservatives never punched anyone in the face. Finally, things are turning around.
And then Malsberg goes, you're not advocating violence, are you? And I go, I absolutely am. It's a wonderful, effective thing.
This is a war.
I started this gang called the Proud Boys.
Civil discourse.
The New York Times said provocateur. And my particular favorite, they described him as an angry nerd aesthetic. Oh, now he's a nerd. Oh, he's an innocent little nerd with an aesthetic. Which is take your guns, kill people. I'm calling for violence. Punch them in the face, throw the bricks, etc. You just saw the tape. New York Times journalists thought, yeah, on the other hand, I'm supposed to call everything 50-50.
That's right. That's exactly
because
right.
people like Kevin McInnes yell at me and call me liberal media. So instead, I'll go and pleasure them. I'll talk about how they're Brooklyn hipsters. Oh, they're having a little bit of cheeky fun. Oh, they said, oh, they get together and do private jokes. Oh, they're just joking around. And in another instance, they talked about how he gets close to the line, but walks it back, just enough room to declare it all a joke. You just saw the tape. Did any of that look like he was joking? Did it look like there was enough room there when he talked about murdering people? But New York Times, no, we're not liberal. Okay, New York, right wing, wonderful, awesome, great. You're an intellectual dark web, you're a wunderkind, you're this, you're that, Kevin McInnes. You're not a fascist. You're not talking about killing transgender people. You're not talking about killing liberals. No, we're gonna cover up for you just so you don't call us liberal. That's what the New York Times is. Honestly, they're cowards. So look, the New York Times also, because we're fair and we actually analyze things without what the right wing does, they have nothing but propaganda. They're nothing but lies. But the New York Times does some great reporting. And they have some wonderful reporters and wonderful editors, and they bring us incredibly important information. But they are cowed by the right wing. They had an article about Donald Trump before the election that showed Eric Lichtblau, a great reporter. He had him, Trump's server, talking to the Russians, talking to Alpha Bank. And not only did they not run that piece initially, but when someone else was gonna beat him to the punch, they wrote a piece with a headline saying the opposite, that the FBI had cleared Trump, when that's a lie. Why? Don't call us liberal, whatever you do, don't call us liberal. So what will we do? We'll lie to you and we'll call it even. We'll call everything even. They're calling fascist even. That's what the New York Times is doing. They're goddamn cowards. So look, I'm not for Antifa going out and throwing water bottles as they did in that. I'm not calling for violence. Yes, I'm angry, I don't know if you could tell. That doesn't mean we call for physical violence. We do everything to make sure our side does not do that. I say if you're a progressive, you're by definition wrong if you do anything physical or violent. But then they'll take this and you know what they'll do? Because they are cowards in the media, they will go and say, oh, well, that guy's angry about the fascists, that they want to murder people. That guy's angry, and he calls for a political answer to that. I'll call him the same as the monsters on the right who tell people to kill people. That's what you're gonna do, aren't you, New York Times? Go ahead, write it down. But you won't even do that. We did an analysis the other day. They have over 500 articles about the right wing, like specific right wing outlets in 1 month. You know how many articles they wrote about Amy Goodman, a wonderful progressive who is very popular and does a huge show? Zero.
Of course.
Amy, progressives. That's what New York Times thinks about progressives, and then they get called liberal media. When you ever cover progressives, when are you ever fair to progressives? All I ever see from the mainstream media is spitting on Bernie Sanders and any other progressive. When did you cover Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez before her victory? No, you thought she was a joke, right? Until she won, and then all of a sudden you turn around. But when it comes to the right wing and fascists who want to murder people, oh, provocateur, an angry nerd, aesthetic. Please, why don't you go pleasure another right winger? You sicken me. Am I clear enough?
So obviously you have an establishment political organization, a Republican organization, normalizing this behavior and calling it civil discourse. And the problem is we now have a major newspaper that is helping them make that argument. And I just want to read you one final part and then we'll call it a day with this story.
No, I'm going to say more because,
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so this is again from this very New York Times piece. By the way, Alan Feuer is the name of the writer here. And so again, I want to emphasize that there is incredible journalism being done at the New York Times, but there is this fear of being called out by conservatives for being too liberal. And I think that we see this play out more often than not in the profiles that they write on people like McInnes. So here's another portion. McInnes, a fiscal conservative and libertarian, calls himself a champion of Western values and reserves a burning ire for the political correctness of people on the left whom he describes as busybodies who have lost their sense of humor. So were we supposed to laugh when you talked about choking trannies? Grabbing them by the windpipe? I mean, I don't know. I don't really find that funny. And then these are the same people who will then turn around and look at undocumented immigrants, Mexicans, Muslims, other minorities, and accuse them of being violent. They'll accuse them of being criminals. They'll accuse them of wanting to come into the country and destroying our values. No, McInnes, I don't care, what your race is, you destroy our values.
So, New York Times and the rest of the mainstream media and the corporate media, when you call things even, you know what you do? You help liars. Because your job is to be objective, your job is to get at the truth. But when you equate lies and the truth, and you say, well, Republicans say this and Democrats say that. Right wing says this and left wing says that. I mean, how would I know? What am I, a reporter? And when you just leave it at that, what do? You've equalized the truth and lies. So what did you do? You helped the liars by calling it even. That's terrible journalism. That means you're terrible at your job, okay? Now, in this case, you're helping fascists by calling it even. Okay, here I'm gonna read you another quote, and I know there's not a lot of Indians in this country, so I'm sure that most people don't care. They're like, oh, casual racism and bigotry towards Indians, Asians, Muslims, transgender people. Oh, angry nerd aesthetic, right? So I'm gonna read you a quote from McInnes. It's not, so he said, we brought roads, and referring to white people, we brought roads and infrastructure to India, and they are still using them as toilets. Our criminals built nice roads in Australia, but Aboriginals keep using them as a bed. So you don't know any Indians, and you think, making fun of Indians. He's just joking. By the way, some of those clips are on the Joe Rogan show. Oh, let's bring him on. Let's just joke around about how much we hate transgender people. Oh, you don't have any sense of humor, man. Really, are you friends with Indian people and you guys are ribbing each other? No, it doesn't look like it. It looks like you're making fun of them because you hate them and you celebrate being white, whatever that means, okay? So anybody who enables these guys, including the New York Times, understand what you're doing. You're helping fascists by not calling them what they are, which is what you're supposed to do as reporters. What you do is you're dressing them up and making them seem much nicer and kinder than they actually are, which then helps them gain legitimacy and then have speeches at official Republican outlets and encourages the spread of their violence and hatred. Congratulations, New York Times. You must be so proud. 2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.